I'm Jasmine, 28 years old, and I thought I'd finally earned my real place in this family. For 5 years since starting as a software engineer, I'd been the reliable fix for every money squeeze hospital stays, car breakdowns, house fixes. I stepped in every time, no questions asked. I figured that kind of support showed I was essential, truly part of the core. But during that vineyard tasting for my parents' anniversary, as the tension built around the table, Mom's words cut through like a hidden blade, exposing cracks I'd ignored for too long. It was the kind of moment where one sharp exchange can unravel years of unspoken truths, leaving everything in ruins. "You're not really family," Mom said. I replied, "Neither is your favorite son." The table erupted. Dad demanded, "What does that mean?" Game over. Before I unpack what went down that evening, I'd love to hear if you've faced a family revelation that shifted everything. Hit like if this resonates, subscribe for more unfiltered tales of turning points, and comment your location. Now let's step back to how it all led to that explosive night. Growing up in our California suburb brought its own challenges. As the third child, I poured everything into school to stand out. Jose was 3 years older, Mom's golden boy, who could do no wrong with his effortless charm and football stardom. Alexandra was 2 years older than me, often staying quiet during the family chaos, observing without much intervention. Timothy was 2 years younger, the easygoing one who slid through life on humor and minimal effort. The backyard gatherings highlighted it all. Dad grilling burgers while Mom fussed over Jose's achievements, praising his leadership on the team. I'd sit with my books, earning straight A's, and joining the debate club, hoping for the same glow in her eyes. But it was always, "Jose's so driven," or "Timothy's just a free spirit." Alexandra would catch my glance sometimes, her silence speaking volumes, but she never pushed back. I volunteered at the community center, tutored kids after school, all to prove I deserved that attention too. The financial hits came when I was 15. The 2008 recession slammed Dad's small business, hard construction jobs drying up overnight. I overheard Mom and Dad arguing over stacking bills at the kitchen table, their voices low but strained. Mom's worry lines deepened when she explained no vacation that summer, and Jose's college fund took a hit despite his partial scholarship. Timothy complained about hand-me-down clothes, but I saw the real stress. The late-night calculations, the skipped meals to stretch groceries. That's when it clicked for me. If I studied something practical like IT, I could build security for us all. Software made sense. It was logical, predictable, unlike the shifting favoritism at home. I took on part-time coding gigs in high school, saving for college while keeping my GPA perfect. The scholarship to UC felt like a win. Dad patting my back with genuine pride, Mom nodding but adding her usual caveats. Jasmine's dedicated, but she lacks Jose's natural charisma or Timothy's creativity. Even then, Alexandra's quiet support meant something. She'd slip me notes of encouragement during those long study nights. But the pattern stuck. Jose got the spotlight, Timothy, the leniency, and I, the expectation to perform. The recession lingered, forcing Dad to downsize his crew, Mom picking up extra shifts at her office job. I watched them sacrifice, vowing I'd end that cycle once I graduated. Those years shaped me, turning quiet resentment into determination. But as I started sending money home, I stumbled on something that would change everything, a lie buried in old files. College became my proving ground. IT courses felt right with their logic and problem-solving appeal. I balanced lectures with freelance gigs, creating websites for local shops to offset costs. The initial plea arrived during junior year when Mom rang about Dad's van repair, explaining they were short, and knew I had some earnings. I transferred $500 from a recent project originally saved for software upgrades, prioritizing their needs. A couple months on, Kelsey's surprise medical expense prompted another transfer of $300. Soon followed requests for household utilities, Timothy's textbooks, and Jose's security deposit for his post-grad place. Senior year saw nearly half my income flowing back, leaving me to pull all-nighters fixing bugs while peers enjoyed downtime. I honed skills through side projects like developing a budgeting app that ironically helped me track what I sent home. An internship at a Bay Area startup followed where I optimized data systems for clients. That experience sharpened my expertise, but the demands persisted. Dad required new equipment after a minor work injury. I sent 800 skimping on my meal plans. Post-graduation, the position at a San Francisco company offered stability with a competitive pay. Yet expectations swelled. The home's electrical wiring needed overhauling to meet code. Timothy enrolled in vocational training without scholarships, so I footed the initial costs. Each appeal positioned as temporary, I consented seeing it as duty. Life in my compact rental remained frugal with basic amenities and minimal outings contrasting the improvements I enabled for them. Jose acquired a sturdy vehicle suited for his management position, installments handled by me. Kelsey's diagnostic tests racked up out-of-pocket fees that I absorbed. Gradually, I morphed into the unspoken pillar propping up their lifestyle. Alexandra reached out sporadically with thanks her own path in graphic design, keeping her somewhat detached from the cycle. Timothy's casual employment at a cafe barely met his basics, leading to my supplements for his bills. Jose's crises often involved professional attire or networking events, which I subsidized without protest. One Saturday, assisting Mom with annual filings, I accessed archived digital records. Amid folders and outdated correspondence surfaced from pre-Jose era, outlining her involvement with a colleague, dates syncing precisely with his arrival, suggesting Dad's non-paternity. Screen details swam as comprehension dawned, illuminating her lifelong bias toward him. The messages included specifics on meetings and emotions, erasing any ambiguity. I lingered in disbelief, connecting dots to her preferential treatment. Temptation to probe surged, yet I shut the device, compartmentalizing the revelation temporarily. I kept it buried, questioning if it was real or a misunderstanding, but the dates aligned too perfectly. The resentment I'd felt as a kid now had a root, but I pushed it down, focusing on my role as provider. Mom's health issues surfaced abruptly. Chest pains sent her to the emergency room where tests revealed blocked arteries needing prompt attention. I covered the bills without delay, emptying reserves and securing a loan for the remainder. Recovery involved weekly check-ins where I stocked their fridge and managed errands. To mark Dad's progress and their anniversary, I arranged a vineyard tour in Napa Valley. Researching venues took weeks, settling on a tasting room with panoramic views and expert guides. Reservations for the group included pairings and a dedicated host. Expenses mounted, but Dad's smile after months of worry justified it. I suggested framing the outing as a collective surprise, avoiding guilt over costs. Mom's response came flat, almost dismissive, which I attributed to lingering fatigue. Arriving early, I confirmed details with staff, selecting Dad's preferred Cabernet Sauvignon despite its price. The family pulled up together, a polished group from which I always felt slightly apart. Dad appeared sharp in the gray jacket I'd gifted him last holiday, his energy returning post-treatment. Mom looked composed in her floral dress, makeup carefully applied to mask recent pallor. Jose showed with Crystal, their kids Andrea and Nathan, bubbling with excitement over the scenic drive. Crystal carried herself with poise, her handbag matching the professional image from Jose's corporate role. Alexandra arrived solo, her freelance schedule keeping relationships casual. Timothy tagged along, last fresh from his shift, flashing that grin to lighten the mood. The tasting room exuded warmth with wooden beams and rows of barrels lining the walls. Our private area overlooked rolling hills, sunlight filtering through vines. Andrea tugged at my hand, pointing to birds outside, while Nathan fidgeted with napkins. The host poured samples, explaining notes of oak and berry. Small talk flowed initially, Dad expressing gratitude for the gathering, but Mom's remarks soon edged in. When I mentioned a recent project success, she commented on my ability to splurge freely. Jose laughed along, adding how my tech life left little room for family ties like his. Crystal nudged him gently, sensing the undertone. Alexandra's subtle glance across the table hinted at unspoken alliances, a crack in the facade I'd soon widen. Timothy whistled at the venue's elegance, joking about the bill, which Mom echoed with a pointed look my way. The wine warmed conversations, but her observations sharpened, framing my contributions as showy rather than supportive. Dad tried redirecting to lighter topics, sharing vineyard facts he'd read. Yet Mom persisted, contrasting my independence with Jose's responsibilities as a parent. The kids' chatter provided brief distractions, Andrea asking about grape stomping, Nathan mimicking tastes. As appetizers arrived, I suggested sharing plates, but Mom's tone implied extravagance on my part. The atmosphere thickened, her comments layering like sediment in the glasses. I brushed them off, focusing on Dad's enjoyment, but the barbs accumulated, each one pricking deeper. The host refilled pours, and with them Mom's restraint loosened. Her praise for Jose's stability felt like indirect criticism of my choices. Alexandra attempted neutral ground, mentioning her latest design work, but the focus shifted back. Tension simmered beneath the surface, civility building toward an inevitable break. As wine flowed, Mom's comments turned sharp, building to the words that would unleash my truth bomb. The vineyard air carried hints of earth and fruit. Mom critiqued my choice of venue, almost immediately calling it overly indulgent for a simple anniversary. Jose nodded in agreement, his posture relaxed as he sampled the first pour. Crystal kept the kids occupied, Andrea sketching vines on a napkin, while Nathan tasted grape juice alternatives. Dad raised his glass in toast, appreciating the effort, but Mom's expression remained tight. When I shared about a new client win at work, she remarked on how my career allowed such luxuries, implying it came at the expense of personal connections. Jose chuckled, saying my hours explained the lack of a partner his own family life presented as the ideal. Alexandra interjected with a neutral comment on the wine's bouquet, trying to steer away from the jabs. But Mom persisted, highlighting Jose's balance of job and home, his leadership shining through in everyday decisions. Timothy added light-hearted quips, easing some awkwardness, but the undercurrent pulled stronger. As pairings progressed, conversation turned to past milestones. Dad recalled Jose's wedding, Mom gushing over how it unified everyone. My attempts to contribute stories from college successes were met with faint smiles or redirection. Mom noted girls often complicate things differently, her tone laced with subtle dismissal. The host described a robust red, but Mom's aside about my generous nature felt like a veiled accusation. Those little digs in family conversations that build up over years, turning memories into minefields. Jose's promotion story dominated, Mom praising his natural talent, contrasting it with my calculated approach. Andrea asked innocent questions about the grapes, her curiosity a brief respite. Nathan fidgeted, drawing attention from Crystal, who managed with practiced ease. Alexandra's eyes met mine occasionally, her quiet presence a silent acknowledgement of the imbalance. Mom's comments escalated with each sip, questioning my single status as a choice driven by ambition over relationships. Dad attempted to praise my independence, but she countered with observations on what truly matters, commitments like Jose's. Timothy laughed off the tension, but it clung like humidity. When the main flight arrived, I proposed trying a rare vintage to share. Mom's response framed it as flaunting her voice, carrying across the group. The kids sensed the shift, Andrea growing quieter, Nathan seeking Crystal's reassurance. Dad shared a memory of our family trips, but Mom twisted it, implying my focus on studies distanced me even then. Alexandra's soft suggestion to celebrate the present fell flat. Mom's gaze hardened as I presented the anniversary gift, a curated wine set from the estate's collection. She accepted with a forced thank you, then delivered the blow. It's nice when you can afford to buy approval, But you're not really family in the way that counts. Her words hung heavy, the tasting room seeming smaller, every eye turning. Rage surged through me instantly. I locked eyes with Mom and said calmly, "Neither is your favorite son." The words landed like a grenade silence exploding into chaos. Jose slammed his glass down, demanding what I meant. Dad's voice rose in confusion, repeating the question with growing alarm. Alexandra's face paled, her hand covering her mouth. Crystal pulled the kids closer, Andrea asking why everyone yelled, Nathan starting to cry. I pressed on, revealing the email's contents. Dates of meetings, names involved, all pointing to Jose's true paternity. The room spun with accusations, Jose denying it, vehemently calling me jealous. Mom's composure cracked, her denials weak and faltering. Brian stared between us, piecing together timelines from their early marriage. Those moments when a hidden truth flips the script on everything. Timothy tried joking to diffuse, but it fell flat amid the uproar. The host hovered awkwardly, unsure whether to intervene. Other patrons glanced over, whispers spreading. I stood firm, detailing how the discovery fit her bias, protecting Jose at all costs. Alexandra nodded slightly, her earlier hints now making sense. Dad pressed for proof, his trust fracturing. I referenced the archived messages without pulling out my phone, describing key phrases that sealed the affair. Jose's anger turned defensive, questioning my motives. Crystal comforted Nathan gently, her expression a mix of shock and sympathy. Andrea clung to her, eyes wide. The vineyard staff suggested moving outside, but the damage rooted us in place. Mom attempted redirection, claiming exaggeration, but her voice trembled. Brian's questions sharpened, probing gaps in their history. Alexandra spoke up briefly, admitting she'd suspected inconsistencies but stayed silent. I shifted to the finances, voice steady despite the storm. $18,000 for Mom's medical procedures, $12,000 toward the mortgage arrears, $8,000 for Jose's vehicle when his broke down, $6,000 covering Timothy's unfinished courses, $4,000 for the plumbing overhaul last spring. Each figure hung in the air, exposing the dependency they'd denied. Jose interrupted, accusing me of tallying like a lender. Dad looked stricken, realizing the extent. Crystal's gaze softened toward me, perhaps seeing the burden. The kids' confusion added heartbreak. Nathan's whimpers piercing the tension. Mom's eyes pleaded now, but I continued. $3,000 for Dad's tools replacement, $2,000 for various utilities shortfalls, $1,000 for Alexandra's equipment when her laptop failed. The list underscored my role not as family, but as financier. Timothy admitted under his breath he'd relied too much. Alexandra's support grew evident in her steady stare. The host finally ushered us toward privacy, but I gathered my things. If I'm not family, then no more obligations, I stated, turning away. The walkout felt liberating, past curious stares and through the doors. Freedom pulsed in my veins, the weight lifting with each step. The calls started flooding in that night, but I was done enabling, ready for my own life. Notifications lit up my phone almost immediately. Dad left the first voicemail, his tone pleading and confused, begging me to return and clarify. Mom followed with frantic messages, her voice breaking as she retracted her statement, claiming heat of the moment. Jose texted accusations, labeling me destructive and demanding retraction. Timothy's call carried regret, admitting he'd taken too much without appreciation. I let them all go unanswered, powering down the device for peace. Booking a flight to Hawaii came next, a long-delayed escape I'd postponed due to their constant needs. The beaches offered solitude, waves crashing as I reflected on years of deferred dreams. Those rare moments of relief after years of carrying the load. Back at work, focus sharpened without distractions. Charles noticed during our team huddle, complimenting the surge in productivity and assigning lead on a major client upgrade. The promotion materialized weeks later, salary bump allowing upgrades to my living space. Colleagues remarked on my renewed energy, free from perpetual worry. Dating re-entered my routine through a work event where Richard's marketing background sparked easy conversation. His understanding of demanding careers mirrored mine, our dates unfolding without interruptions from family pleas. He observed the change, noting how I seemed more present, unburdened by external pulls. Therapy sessions with Dr. Patrick Wong provided clarity. He dissected the dynamics, labeling me the family scapegoat burdened with adult roles prematurely. Discussions unpacked the favoritism's roots, linking it to mom's insecurities. Alexandra's call arrived midway through my trip, her words affirming she'd witnessed the inequities and supported my stand, distancing herself from the fallout. Richard's steady presence grew, our relationship deepening through shared hikes and city explorations. Work projects thrived, my contributions earning recognition in industry forums. Dr. Wong's insights empowered boundary setting, reframing my generosity as enabling rather than loving. Mom's attempts escalated to emails detailing their struggles without my aid. Jose vented frustration over strained finances, blaming me for the rift. Dad's messages turned emotional, expressing love but confusion over the revelations. Timothy shared his efforts to find steady work, hinting at the void my absence created. I maintained silence, prioritizing self-care. Hawaii's sunsets symbolized closure, each day reinforcing my decision. Charles's feedback during performance review highlighted the transformation, crediting it to balanced priorities. Richard's encouragement solidified our bond, free from inherited drama. Alexandra visited post-vacation our talks, revealing her own resentments toward the imbalance. She praised my courage, committing to mutual support outside the old circle. Therapy progressed, Dr. Wong guiding exercises on releasing guilt. The promotion's perks included flexible hours, enabling hobbies like photography I'd neglected. Family communications tapered their pleas, giving way to acceptance of consequences. My apartment evolved into a sanctuary decorated with personal touches. Richard introduced me to his circle evenings, filled with laughter absent from prior gatherings. Work accolades accumulated, a feature in a tech newsletter boosting my profile. But a year later, the real fallout hit. No apologies, just consequences that proved I was right. Fallout unfolded steadily over the year. Mom and Dad's marriage dissolved in acrimonious proceedings, the secret fueling endless disputes over assets. Court documents exposed further deceptions, draining their retirement funds through legal fees. The suburban home entered foreclosure after missed payments auctioned off below market value amid California's housing crunch. Jose's professional standing crumbled under the scandal's weight. Word spread through his network, clients withdrawing amid whispers of family instability. His middle management position vanished in a round of layoffs disguised as restructuring but tied to damaged credibility. Job hunts yielded rejections, forcing relocation to a cheaper area with Crystal and the kids. Timothy faced eviction from his rental, his sporadic income insufficient without supplements. Couch surfing led to temporary stays in local programs, a stark lesson in self-reliance. He enrolled in job training workshops, scraping by on minimum wage roles that demanded humility he'd previously avoided. Alexandra deepened our connection, visiting regularly to share updates on her independent life. We explored cafes and trails, her stories revealing parallel frustrations with the old patterns, those sibling connections that survive when others crumble. She pursued certifications in her field, thriving away from the toxicity. My routine solidified into fulfillment. Richard's companionship evolved into partnership, our shared values, fostering growth without obligations. Weekend getaways replaced emergency wires, his circle welcoming me as an equal. Career milestones accumulated with presentations at conferences and mentorship roles emerging. Dr. Wong's final sessions affirmed my progress, tools for maintaining distance proving effective. No reconciliation attempts succeeded, my boundaries unyielding. The absence of their crises allowed space for volunteering at tech workshops, guiding young professionals on financial independence. Mom's occasional outreach focused on hardships, but I forwarded them to spam. Dad's letters expressed sorrow, yet lacked accountability. Jose's messages turned bitter, blaming me for his downturns. Timothy's updates showed gradual improvement, a silver lining in the wreckage. Alexandra and I celebrated small victories like her first major client contract. Richard proposed subtly during a coastal drive, our future untainted by past shadows. The apartment transformed into a home filled with art and plants, symbolizing renewal. In reflection, the severance brought clarity. Family ties built on exploitation fracture easily under truth. Secrets erode foundations, leaving ruins where honesty might have rebuilt. Boundaries protect worth beyond monetary measures or bloodlines. What family boundary changed your life? Share below for more stories.